Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1997's Jack Frost. Unfortunately. But we assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen this movie. I've seen this movie too many times.
So what an appropriately fitting movie for the time of the year.
Oh, definitely.
Killer Snowman.
Right off the bat. Yep. That's what you get. No more promises. Killer Snowman.
First of all, just want to say happy holidays if anybody's listening to this currently. We did take a week off just to kind of rest, recuperate, spend time with our families. And now we're back in the trenches with what I can only pick, or what I can only assume, is some sort of weird punishment that Ben is inflicting upon me.
Oh, no way, man. I have to start this off right now saying, yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and whatnot. But this movie is a blast. There is no punishment here. It's just 100% fun. A terrible movie, no doubt, but a lot of fun. Did I show this to you the first time you saw it? I can't remember.
The first time I saw this, we watched it together, and I can honestly say, spoiler alert, because I say it almost every single week, it's far better watching it with other people. Watching it by yourself,
it's a task.
Yeah, it's almost like I would say, and I just did say, a punishment. So, do you got any interesting trivia about this one, or can we just dive right into it?
I've got a few things to say. I will leave it to the end because it does touch on different plot points of the movie. But in prep for this, I watched the movie 3 times, and then again with the director's commentary. And the director had a lot to say, but not a lot of information was given out during his spiels.
So just a bunch of empty words.
Basically, yeah.
Kind of like every episode of our show.
Yeah, really. Just put it up as a bonus episode, the Jack Frost commentary by writer-director Michael Cooney. If you look him up on IMDb, because I watched this recently with Adrian as well, and he looked him up, he's like, this is all he directed. He directed this and Jack Frost 2. And I looked into that, and the reason why he directed it is because they didn't have enough money to hire a legit director, so the writer took over.
You're really setting up a doozy here, man.
If that's how you're budgeting your production, we're going to have a bad time, guys.
So we've run out of our budget, and for a director, we have these Bazooka Joe comic books. What can we do with that?
One of the first things you do is get a director, because he's the visionary, or she's the visionary for your movie. Not at the last second be like, oh, shit. We need that, don't we? We need that director. Hey, Mike. It's a Michael Auerbach or a John Auerbach issue here. You ever direct a movie? No? How about you direct it and we'll just call you the director?
Maybe John Auerbach wasn't free.
Oh, can you imagine that directing combo? Written by Michael Cooney, directed by John Auerbach.
No, I think it'd be better the other way around.
Yeah, true.
All right,
let's hop in.
Yeah, I can't prolong it any further.
Alrighty. And just to clarify, you already said Killer Snowman, not Michael Keaton Snowman, film of the same name, Jack Frost.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they came out 1 year apart. So every time I'm looking for, oh, I need a trailer for the previous episode. Oh, I need a screenshot or a movie poster for the promo shot. Everything comes up with the Michael Keaton one because I'm guessing that actually had something behind it. Not that I've seen that one either. But, you know, some money, some marketing, some movie theater play. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie was filmed over the holidays of 92, 93, and was only released in 97. And it does look that way. So I'm wondering if they heard about the Keaton movie coming out and they're like, oh, God, we have to fast track this now.
You mean over the holidays, as in like the week between Christmas and New Year's, they needed to squeeze it in?
They filmed 10 days leading up to Christmas. Then the crew had 10 days off for the holidays, and then they filmed for a week after that. This movie was shot in 17 days.
Feels like that's 15 days longer than the quality that came out of it.
You're not wrong.
All right, let's get into it. I'm sure the fans are absolutely dying to find out what happens in this movie, even though they should have already watched it.
And I don't blame them if they haven't. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The film opens with a man telling his annoyingly voiced granddaughter a twisted tale of serial killer Jack Frost. Right off the bat, I hate this kid's voice. It can't be a kid, right?
No. That is absolutely an adult who's doing an impression of an annoying child.
Like a really squeaky, high-pitched, annoying voice.
I don't even think you could get an actual child and direct them into doing that kind of a voice.
No. I do have to say that the credits are creatively done, though, being displayed on ornaments that adorn the Christmas tree. And the voice of the grandfather telling the story is actually the writer and director, Michael Cooney.
Oh, well, so he worked on a talent budget, not on a director's budget.
Oh yeah. We learn that Jack traveled around the country, stopping in towns long enough to get a job, kill a few people, then move on, eventually being caught by putting pieces of his victims in the pies of the bakery he worked at, which seems like a really stupid thing to do. I mean, they're going to trace it, right?
I mean, it feels like the kind of thing you do when you're trying to say, please catch me in the act. Here is, for lack of a better term, a paper trail of my exact activities.
Yeah. And the story concludes with Jack being transported to a prison where he will be put to death. So, we cut to a prison transport truck driving through a snowstorm. The worst snowstorm ever put to film. It looks awful. The drivers yell out, mocking their captive in the back of the truck. In the hold, the chained killer asks a guard for a cigarette and is shut down. Okay, going back, we need to talk about that snow. It's visibly fake, incredibly sparse, yet we're in a blizzard?
Yes.
And we have two guards, one driving, another in the cab, both looking out a tiny space that a single wiper blade has left on the driver's side window.
Mm-hmm.
Does not scream prison transport to me.
No, not at all. I mean, first of all, they're saying to him, like, in 30 minutes, based on the way that they're making it out, this blizzard ain't getting them there in 30 minutes. And the one guy's just leaning over the other to look through this hole in the window. What assistance are you going to provide in that regard? Just sit in your seat, man.
Also, seatbelts, come on.
And then the driver is frantically moving the wheel in a way that does not indicate to me cautious driving in a snowstorm.
Oh, no, that's like sending the car or the van like spiraling out of control off into a snowbank.
Yeah, they're probably fishtailing all across the intersection.
Have to be. They cross the border of Snowminton.
Really?
Which, yeah, it's not even
Snowman
funny.
Town. Like, it's not even clever.
A lot of this movie is trying to be clever and isn't. Jack's one-liners are the worst I've ever heard in any movie ever.
I gotta say, he at least delivers them with gusto.
He's given it his all, that's for sure.
No, he's giving it his all that he knows this is a joke and is not trying. Like,
yeah,
this is the kind
MacDonald
of... This is
great.
This is the kind of delivery that I would give with, like, a really bad dad joke when I know I want somebody to catch it.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what this is. He might be the only one in this movie who actually realizes what this is and is just like, I'm here for the paycheck, man. I'm just going to ham it up.
That's what I thought, too. And I'll touch on it later, but they knew what they were doing. Anyway, Snowminton is where Jack was on the run from the FBI, but ended up being taken down by the town's bumpkin sheriff. A ruckus in the back of the truck draws the concern of the driver and his partner, but a reassuring voice from the hold calms them down. In reality, Jack has killed his guard and is smoking his cigarette, eventually putting it out on the dead man's face.
It is absolutely brilliant that they changed to the camera angle of the guys in the cab, because in handcuffs, I have no idea how without his superpowers, Jack pulled this off.
Oh, there's no way.
No, not at all.
No way at all. Already, the movie's completely unbelievable.
Hey, at least they knew enough to cut to a different shot. Because they're like, we can't justify this.
There's some interesting cuts coming up here, man.
You know what would have been a better way to do it?
Stop production.
The truck crashes in this terrible snowstorm. Before the other truck, this one crashes, and that's how the guy gets free, because he doesn't have superpowers yet.
Yeah. And that's what my notes here say, because like on the same road, heading in the opposite direction, a truck containing genetic research material is being driven by a distracted employee and slams into the prison van head on. And there's a really weird choice for the use of slow-mo here, showing the two vehicles barely touching each other with a small ding, and then both vehicles violently roll off the road.
Yep.
And the way they show the accident after the cars hit each other is by spinning the camera around. Gravity does nothing in this. You can tell they're just sitting, staring at the camera, screaming. But the back door of the transport van swings open and the killer escapes. The guard driving the van climbs to his feet and walks to the back of the vehicle, seeing Jack free of his shackles, but not noticing the flaming research van off to the side. Also, when he comes to, his partner's feet are just jammed in his face. Doesn't check on him whatsoever.
No.
Just like pushes the feet away from his face and climbs out.
Yeah.
The heat from the fire adds more compression to the acids inside the tanks, which eventually explode, showering Jack in this mysterious corrosive. And this, I think, is one of Jack's first quips. The quick line of, "This is gonna hurt." And Jack begins violently convulsing and melting, spewing blood everywhere until dead. The body continues to melt, and we get one of my favorite scenes. Through terrible, hand-drawn animation, we see Jack's DNA fuse to water molecules.
Why even do this if you don't have the budget for it?
I don't know. And this was a choice, because we see horribly edited footage of Jack melting into the snow, like the body just kind of vanishes. Then you could have the snow move around and be like, okay, that was bad, but I understand what's happening. This is just dumb.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, don't get me wrong, but it's dumb.
You said it perfectly. This was a choice. It's not a good choice, but it was a choice.
It was a choice that totally hooked me on this movie, though. Because at this point, I'm like, if you're not taking this fucking thing seriously, I'm not either. So let's just have some fun.
I'm starting to see what you meant by Jack wasn't the only one not taking this seriously. It took me a minute, but yeah, you've convinced me.
The snow begins to move around, and the guard fires several shots before we cut. Anne, played by Eileen Seeley, and her husband, Sheriff Sam Tyler, whose name I forget, Christopher Allport, sorry, are driving home that same night. Sam is visibly distraught, and Anne is trying to calm him down, explaining that it's after midnight, there's no more stays of execution, Jack Frost is dead. Hopefully that ceases his nightmares. At least this is somewhat of a subtle way to introduce the man that caught Jack Frost, showing that he's dealing with the trauma of the whole experience, which really, when you see it, isn't that traumatic.
That's what I was absolutely going to say. That's why I was sighing in disappointment there. They do a flashback of when he catches Jack.
At this point, immediately after this, they do the flashback.
And none of it seems like it would be traumatic for a police officer. It's not like he caught him in the act. He literally just arrested a guy after the fact.
Not even after the fact. He arrested a guy after he just stopped his car on the side of the road to take a piss.
Well, that's what I meant. But like after all of the actual crimes had taken place, like he wasn't there for them. So what is he seeing? What is he?
I don't know. And this is where I think maybe the trauma comes from how crazy Jack is at the courthouse. Because it cuts to the steps of the house, and Jack's being led away in a prison jumpsuit, screaming at Sam that he needs to take a good long look at his face because the next time he sees it, he's going to tear his world apart. And this is a terrifying quote where he screams, "I'll find a way. I'll tear your town apart. I'll kill your family. I'll kill you. You're dead." And it's great acting here too. Like,
but again, I'm sure
Scotty's
this
done
is,
well.
as a police officer, a sheriff, no less, he's probably heard threats before that maybe if you saw mutilated bodies, maybe if you had been served one of the pies with a piece of the victim in it that you, I don't know, were related to or something, you could understand the trauma. But in this case, he arrested a guy who was pissing on the side of the road, who yelled at him in the heat of the moment in the courtroom that he was going to get him. I get it, you should be worried, but to not be sleeping, this traumatic experience? No.
And Anne snaps Sam out of his daydream, telling him that he needs to slow down. Lights from emergency vehicles reflect off of their faces as they approach the road accident. The most annoying character in film history, their son Ryan, pops up in the back seat, asking if they can stop so he can see the ambulance. And this is where we first see that they don't outright state it, but I would put money on the fact that Sam hates his child. It starts off with him saying, 2 squad cars, an ambulance, and then Ryan chimes in, and a partridge in a pear tree. And then there's this awkward silence, and Sam just goes, very nice. He has no time for Ryan in the scene whatsoever. And it's not the first time this happens.
You just get the impression that he's like, I just want to backhand you right now.
Yeah.
I saw that line in the script, and it wasn't funny on paper.
Sam tries to question an officer attending traffic and is just ushered through the accident scene. A bearded man appears on screen. He watches the Tylers drive away and then goes to talk with the driver of the prison van. Traumatized guard is rambling about how he just ran away, but he didn't have legs, like he was part of the snow. Anyway, did you catch the end when the bearded man, who is not yet named, says they have to go take a look, and the guard reaches out to like hold his hand, and the guy just walks away, and he's just left hanging there.
No, I did not catch that.
Eventually
No.
gets up and just walks away.
I did not catch that.
It's morning at the Tyler house. Anne is listening to the news report on the radio while Ryan is making some ridiculous food mess in the kitchen. Sam enters, proudly announcing that he shoveled the driveway. And he and Anne talk of the reports about Jack that keep playing on the radio. And what is in the pot? Like, what is Ryan making?
We find out later.
Yeah. But why does he offer it to his father on a wooden spoon saying, "I made you special"? And like Sam, he wants no part of it.
It's
and just
so
puts
bad.
it in a sandwich bag saying he'll take it for lunch.
It's so funny, too, because later we find out what he put in it. And I don't want to say because it's a major plot point for some reason. But just thinking about it, the mom is in the kitchen with him. She didn't notice him adding these ridiculous ingredients and say, those aren't for eating.
Oh, no. Like, this is absentee parenting at its best. Like, Sam wants nothing to do with the kid. Anne's just ignoring everything he does.
She
And I
probably
don't
doesn't
even
want
feel
the kid.
bad for him. I don't feel bad for this guy whatsoever. He's so fucking annoying.
She probably doesn't even want him either. She's like, oh, yeah. Put in more antifreeze. Put in more antifreeze. Just drink it.
Spoiler.
Drink it. Whatever.
Yeah. Ryan then asked to build a snowman for the competition later that day because, yep, it's the Snowminton Festival Snowman Building Competition. Horrible sign.
So this was written
Could have
by...
chosen better words.
So this was written by the writer-director's, 6-year-old child, right?
You would believe so, yes. How do they manage to have a contest in a town that seems to have no snow? Like a snowman building contest, there's no snow anywhere.
It's Snowminton, man.
There's a small set of snowmen on exhibition outside of Fawn Lodge, which is actually a real place. That was the real sign. But there's no snow anywhere. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a blizzard the night before?
Yes. They were driving through it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do know after listening to the commentary, but they could have done... actually, they probably couldn't have done much better with the budget. Anyway, also note the man running into frame with a wheelbarrow of snow. Did you catch him?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's running towards the snowman display with a wheelbarrow full of snow, but the snow is jiggling all over the place. I have no idea what they used, but it looked terrible.
Shaving cream.
Yeah, it looked like it. We meet Jake Metzer, who is annoyed at his daughter Jill, played by Shannon Elizabeth in her feature debut, because she's trying to sneak a peek at his snowman, but he wants everyone to wait for the unveiling on Saturday, even though nobody else has their snowman covered with a sheet.
Does anybody in this movie like their kids?
No. No. Every parent in this movie hates their children. Sam arrives, chats with Jake and his wife Sally. Sally says she always wanted to be an angel on the Christmas tree, and Jake shakes his head, obviously thinking his wife is an idiot.
I married you?
Oh, it's bad. I felt so bad for her. Probably the most sympathetic character in the movie.
I mean, yeah, but is that really saying a lot?
Oh, God, no, not at all.
Yeah.
We meet Billy Metzer, Jake's bully son, and also meet Tommy Davro, who's making a large-chested snow woman, and we get the worst joke in any movie that not any movie, in any movie I've seen this year. How about that?
Well, you better like it, because you're going to hear it again.
Sandra, what's the difference between snowmen and snow women?
Snowballs.
Snowballs.
And they use that joke again later.
And I think he flubs it later, too.
It sounded like it.
Yeah. Sam moves on to Tommy's father, Paul, the owner of Davro Hardware. Sam has another flashback of Jack, and then Paul tries to sell him a snowblower.
This guy is just always selling. He's always on.
He's always selling, but he's almost always undercutting himself, too.
Yeah, it's 20% off every single time.
There is one guy in the background I'll point out here, too, which catches me every time I see this movie. And it's the guy with the orange hat who just carries out a giant Christmas ornament that's like the size of his torso.
Where's he going with this?
Oh, this character pops up doing things like that repeatedly throughout the movie.
Yeah, but like, is there a big Christmas tree on display?
No.
No. He's just... Here it is.
Yep. It's just in the background.
Yep.
Jill and Tommy have something on the go. They're flirting heavily until Paul calls his son over for help.
It almost feels like Tommy doesn't get it, but then later it seems like he does get it, and then I don't know.
Oh, he gets it all right.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, when you're watching it the first time, you're like, oh, he's so simple-minded, he doesn't understand that she's into him. And then later he gets it, but other times he's also like, I have no idea that you are making moves on me.
Yeah, he's pretty inconsistent.
Yeah. I would have been fine with it if they did it consistently, that he's just like a bumbling, good-hearted guy who doesn't get it.
Yeah.
That's fine. That would have been almost endearing.
Yeah. We could use one of those characters.
We could use, you mean a character with some personality?
We could use characters.
Oh, a distinguishing character trait. That would have been nice.
And then we get one of my favorite Sam moments. At the Snowminton Sheriff Station, Sam just throws Ryan's special snack in the garbage. But the overwhelming guilt drives him to dig it out, and he just throws it back in the car on the dash. Like, he's trying, but he's obviously like, I hate my kid.
He should have thrown it out, man. I mean, I get it, plot point, but kid's trying to kill you, dude.
Yeah, your idiot kid could have killed him. That would have been like, what happens then? Like, Jack shows up in the town, and they're like, oh.
Everybody died from drinking
did it
antifreeze.
already?
Yeah, oof. Maybe.
Inside, receptionist Marla is chain smoking and fixing her hair. And Sam just asks, what's the matter, Marla? Somebody die? And she holds up a note that reads, somebody died.
Really?
Decent joke. I liked it. You didn't like that?
Fine, but I mean, in a police station, the note would probably have a name on it.
Good point.
And it would still work as a joke if it just said, like, old man such and such died. Right?
Yeah.
What I was going to say, though, was about the son. Maybe he's not as stupid as we think. Maybe he's actually a genius who's realized that his parents are trying to off him, so he's trying to get them first.
That's interesting. Sign me up for that movie.
I know you guys have been trying to get rid of me since day one. I'm going to make this with antifreeze.
And I know you don't have it in you, so I'm just going to irritate the shit out of you until you finally snap. But I have a backup plan. Sam
Anyway.
and deputies Joe and Chris stand over the frozen corpse of old man Harper, slowly rocking back and forth in the rocking chair on his porch. The confused sheriff asks if they have anything, and no, they have nothing. No vehicle tracks, no footprints in the snow, no struggle or signs of breaking into the house, no blood, nothing. And we get probably one of the most brilliant spots of comedy in the movie when Sam asks Chris to get Doc Peters on the phone, stopping to tell him to get his foot off of the chair, and old man Harper immediately stops rocking.
That was good. That might have been the best moment of comedy that I saw.
I think so too. That was great. Which leads me to believe that the writer, he's good. He was horribly limited. And this movie does have a very troubled production. But there are some shining moments in this script, this being probably the best in my opinion. But I just wish that the movie had more of these kind of moments.
More good moments? Yes, I agree. This movie should have had more good moments.
Okay, well, I was trying to be nice, but yeah, you're right.
You know what I was wondering this entire time? What's the motivation? Why did they kill old man Harper?
I don't know.
So, like, Jack said that he would kill Sam and his family.
He said he's going to tear the town apart.
Okay, so, like, some old man that lives on the outskirts of town who probably wasn't even in his path to get there.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Like,
There is also at one point a little bit later in the movie when the town's going crazy in the sheriff station, and Sam's like, old man Harper lived 5 miles on the outskirts of town, and Paul's like, we all live on the outskirts of town. I'm like, who lives in the town?
no one. The town is
No
just
one.
the sheriff's office and that snowman display.
Yeah, the lodge and the church, I guess, and the hardware store, and that's it.
Really, just make it that, like, oh, old man Harper is the retired sheriff that Sam took over for. And he got the promotion when he arrested Jack.
Not a bad idea.
Motivation.
Joe's instructed to ask businesses around town if they've seen any suspicious characters in the area, using a made-up story of the feed store having been robbed. Feed store? Really? Sam gets in his car and radios to Marla to put him through to the FBI.
Dude, they all live on the outskirts of town. They have animals. They need feed. Lots and lots of feed.
It just seemed like a weird thing to say. We return to the bearded man from before, Agent Manners, which has to be a pun, right? I was assuming like good manners. I don't know.
But he doesn't have good manners, so it's an ironic pun?
I guess. I don't know. It just seems like a weird character name. Weird choice, but whatever.
So this is the second character in the movie that I got a very Wish version from. Because, you know, when you see Scott MacDonald as Jack Frost, you're thinking, okay, this is the Wish version of Bruce Campbell, right? This
Mixed
is who
with
they...
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I could see that, right? And then now they're like, okay, we need an FBI agent. Is David Duchovny available? No. Can you find someone that looks sort of like him? No? What about at least if you're looking at him through beer goggles? Close enough.
He's competent in the role.
He is.
But yeah, they're definitely trying to make him look like somebody else.
But it's not even just that they make him look like somebody else. They make him look like somebody else who's known for playing a similar, like maybe not attitude-wise, but okay, here's an FBI agent who's investigating a supernatural occurrence. Right? Like, come on.
Yeah. He definitely looks like a younger Attenborough brother.
Maybe.
Sam's call is patched through to him, and they talk about the accident from the other night. He asks if Jack actually died that night since they just had a murder. Manners assures him Jack is dead, and after the call, he turns to Agent Stone, played by Rob LaBelle, and tells him, "It started." Stone freaks out, saying they hadn't even tested the acid on amoeba, let alone human cells, and calls the whole thing a disaster. Manners tells him to look on the bright side. At least they know it works. It's just a shame that their test subject was Jack Frost. Back at the crime scene, Doc Peters is describing to Sam how the murder had been done in a single motion, and there's no sign that points to anything else. Anne returns home and doesn't notice the giant snowman that's in the yard, which seems to be following her toward the house.
I mean,
do have to
okay.
say, though, at least it didn't have like eyes or a mouth or anything yet. That made sense, at least.
I won't say that her not noticing the snowman was odd, because her son did ask to go build a snowman. But
Good point.
But not noticing that it was moving. I don't understand how anybody in movies and shows doesn't ever catch on to that. Oh, okay. Depth perception is a thing. Am I not correct on that? You see it.
You are correct.
You don't need a measuring tape to be like, oh, it's 10 feet away from me. To then turn around and be like, oh, geez, is that 4 feet now? No, you can tell.
Yeah. And not only could you tell that, she heard it. That's why she turned around.
Well, she heard something.
It definitely sounded like snow.
Well, yeah, somebody could be walking in the snow. They had a blizzard the day before, Ben.
Oh, yeah, you can tell by all of the snow on the ground.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Inside, Ryan has made special again. This time, weird snowman cookies.
Is that intentional? Is that like, oh, we're going to be cutesy with the dialogue because a kid somehow doesn't use full sentences? I made special?
I don't know. I don't like it. I definitely don't like it.
I made doo-doo? Like...
Are we led to believe, without being directly told, that something's up with Ryan? Or are they just really bad at writing the character of a child?
I feel like they're just really bad at writing it.
Yeah. Which is weird because this writer also wrote Identity with John Cusack. Did you see that movie?
No.
It was really... I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd say it's really good, but I really, really enjoyed that movie. The writing was very good. And I guess there was quite a span of time in between writing this and that. Anyway, the character of Ryan sucks. So we'll just blame the writer. Sorry, Michael Cooney. Anne says they aren't as special as the snowman he made outside, but he has no idea what his mother's talking about. And she just gives him items to finish off the snowman.
See, at that point, wouldn't you be like...
Yeah, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Oh, so that moving snowman wasn't you?
Yep, well, it's Jack Frost.
Okay.
Sam arrives to chaos at the station. The townsfolk are freaking out about the murder. He tells everyone to calm down and return home. Classic police move. But Paul freaks out and offers 20% off of everything at his store, which makes no sense because everybody would have bought stuff there anyway.
Apparently it's the only store in town.
Right? That's what I was thinking. Like, why? Why undercut yourself even more?
I mean, at this point, if you're like, oh, we're selling ammunition. I think that was one of the things that he tried to you'd be like, oh, we're going to raise the price by 20% because you need ammunition and it's the only place to get it.
Yeah. Supply and demand.
Anyway.
Deputy Joe asks Marla out for lunch and she sprays him in the face with her hairspray.
Yeah. Not safe.
What's up with that? Yeah,
just say no.
Yeah.
You need to blind the guy at the same time?
Yeah, it's weird. Not as weird as the next shot, though, because it's Ryan adorning the snowman with coal eyes and a carrot nose. He clears the snowman's mouth, almost having his fingers bitten off by icicle teeth, but doesn't notice. But he's using a snowman puppet for a visual reference. I don't know if that's necessary, and it honestly made me feel kind of bad for the kid.
Maybe there is something wrong with him.
Something's
you can't
up with
retain
Ryan.
the information of what a face looks like? Oh, where do the eyes go? Oh, they're above the nose. Ah.
And if there is, like, a developmental issue here, I feel really bad for making fun of this character.
If there is...
That's not cool. But they don't make any reference to it.
I was about to say, if there is a developmental issue, we'll never know it because the movie does absolutely nothing to try and indicate that.
No, the movie just makes the kid look like an idiot.
Yep.
Billy and his goons show up and yell at Ryan to get out of the way of their Black Diamond sled track. Okay. Sure.
The Black Diamond sled track that supposedly runs through his front yard.
Yep.
That's believable.
Of course. Jack Frost. Billy uses his sled to knock off the snowman's head, sending it to the ground and showing an obvious grimace on its face. One of the goons hops on his sled and starts down the hill. The snowman's arm backhands Billy to the ground directly in the sled's path, which runs over his neck and decapitates the boy.
Can I point out that after Billy knocks the head off the snowman and the kids start on their run, they don't run into the body of the snowman. So
no.
How in the way could it have been?
No, it's not at all. They're just jerks.
Yeah, I guess in this case, yeah, they're just bullies.
Yeah. But the line...
Or were bullies, at least one of them was. Not a bully anymore.
Look at the scene, though. The kid gets bullied, then the bully's head is removed from his body by the sled rail. Ryan just says, I didn't do it. The acting works in the scene here, because he's stunned. But then you get the really cheesy line of, holy moly, Ryan killed Billy. And then it cuts back to Ryan. He's like, it wasn't me.
You know, even the other boys that we don't see get killed or see acting as witnesses later, they were there. They would have seen that it was a sled that was nowhere near Ryan, like at all.
Well, no, Sandro. Holy moly, Ryan killed Billy.
How?
Didn't even touch him.
Was he even near them? Like, wasn't he standing on a ladder, like a step ladder, to put the stuff on the snowman's face?
Yes, and I'm sure one hand was occupied with his visual reference.
And the sled came off the ground. Like, there's no feasible way that you would see Ryan did it. But apparently, holy moly, Ryan killed Billy.
And what do we see next? The police covering the bloody snow with fresh snow. Carrying a body bag away. While in the background, another cop's walking by with Billy's head in a clear plastic bag.
Why?
So subtle.
Why wouldn't it just be in the body bag with the body?
Don't put it in a clear plastic bag.
Just so everybody can see.
Exactly.
Parade it through town. As the children scream. Let this be a warning to all you extreme sledders out there.
Man, that Black Diamond sled track is hardcore.
Got to put up a sign in Sam's driveway.
Just a pike with Billy's head on it. That's a warning.
Sledders not welcome.
Jake confronts Sam, accusing his snowman-blaming little psycho kid of Billy's murder before storming off.
I'm a little torn on this.
Okay.
Because the dad here is
Jake.
very angry, understandably so. Mm-hmm. And even has a very well-acted moment when he says, like, I can't do it tomorrow because I'll be burying my son, right? I forget the exact word, but actually does
something like that.
He does a pretty good job of this, like, range of emotion from angry to depressed or whatever. And the mom, who, as you said, we're supposed to feel sympathetic towards, as he walks away, says to Sam, he's not normally like this. Well, obviously, right? It's not a day-to-day occurrence. But where's her sadness and depression or anger? She is completely straight-faced, like, he's not normally like this.
Yeah, they're both a little off here. Also, I don't know where Jake thinks he's going to be burying his son. Why he thinks he's going to be burying him the next day. I mean, it's fucking murder. Okay, let's go with accident. they're still going to be examining that.
Yeah, and I mean, with all that snow, it's going to take them a while to dig a grave in that frozen earth.
Yeah.
They're not going to be ready by tomorrow.
God, no. It's a very optimistic.
Oh, this movie's so bad.
That night, Anne is making supper, and in the background, we see ominous shadows moving outside of the windows. Sam's at the kitchen table looking over letters sent to him from Jack when he was in prison, such as, "I will find a way," and "Winter is coming, and so am I." Did you look at the letter?
No.
Do you remember what it looks like?
No.
All right. Well, it's the classic movie trope of letters that were cut from magazines and pasted onto paper to convey like disturbing threats, almost like ransom letters and stuff.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I remember that, yes.
Who's giving Jack magazines in prison?
I'm pretty sure prisoners are allowed to just write letters. I think they get screened, but...
Yeah, that was just my first question. And this I do address that later. Question 2. Wouldn't they see that the magazines were cut to pieces?
Wouldn't they screen the letters and see, here's those pieces?
Well, no. 3. Question 3 is my biggest problem. It's not even a question, it's a point. He signed them. It says, "I will find a way, Jack." So, why bother using letters cut from the magazines for anonymity?
Man, it's a good thing that he had Sam's address to mail him these letters in jail.
Also, another question. Who gave him scissors? Who would give a serial killer scissors in prison?
I think we need to move on, man.
And yeah, prison letters are read before being mailed. So who
Again,
would read them and then be like, yeah, that's fine?
who would give him the address to the sheriff that arrested him?
So many questions.
In just one piece, one prop, so many questions.
"I will find a way, Jack." Who's this from? Is that a threat? Anyway, Anne is pissed because she thought that Sam destroyed the letters and let everything go. A noise outside startles them, and Sam goes to investigate, but it's just Paul dropping off a bag of salt.
This guy's working nonstop. You got to give him that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
He's a diligent employee.
And really, he's one of the key factors that saves the day. At the Metzner house, Sally wants to put the tree lights on, but Jake is still furious about the death of their son. Understandable. Jill tries to leave, and Jake loses his shit, accusing her of not loving her brother. Understandable. She storms out to see Tommy. Sally tries to rationalize their daughter's actions, and Jake tells her to finish his dinner. If he wanted philosophy, he'll turn on Oprah. Uncalled for.
Sure. Not sure that's philosophy,
No.
but okay.
He goes outside and sits on a stump to smoke his pipe.
I don't disagree with him, though. It's the same day, just that night. The mom still seems to not be fazed by it. The daughter doesn't give a shit. I can understand his frustration.
So I can get over your shit, man.
It's been a whole...
It happened earlier that day.
Get
Move
over
on.
it. Yeah, move on.
Jesus. Wine, wine, wine. Finish my dinner. That's harsh. Anyway. He goes outside and sits on a stump to smoke his pipe, not noticing the snowman from the Tyler's house is standing directly in front of him. He hears a voice asking for a smoke and has no idea where it came from. He panics, pulls an axe from the stump, looking around for the killer whom he believes to be hiding in the trees around the house. Snowman comes to life, grabbing the axe and driving it down Jake's throat, killing him. But he only axed him for a smoke. Yeah, these jokes are really bad.
They're so bad.
Yeah. Inside, Sally notices water on the floor and thinks Jake tracked it in. Just then, the lights of the tree turn on, and Sally thinks...
That is the most frustration she shows in the day that her son was murdered, was that there was water in the walkway.
You can only take so much, man.
Yeah.
Pushed her over the edge.
Yeah.
Sorry, she thinks her husband has found some Christmas spirit. Not the case, though. Jack attacks the woman, wrapping Christmas lights around her neck and ramming her face into a box of ornaments, shattering the glass as it sticks in her face. He leaves the woman's body displayed upon the tree just in time for Paul to arrive for his salt delivery.
She wanted to be an angel on the tree.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of this movie, for sure, is Jack ramming her face in that box of ornaments?
It's decently well done, to be honest.
What are you talking about? No, it's not.
It's decently.
It's the worst. It's obviously a doll with yarn for hair.
Oh, there's worse, sir.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is worse than the animation.
No, there's a worse scene. There is a worse scene.
All right.
You know what it is. You know what
I don't know.
Yes,
No,
you
I
do.
don't. No, okay. Well, let me know when we get there.
I will. Okay.
All right. Jack reveals his true form to the hardware shop owner, who flees in terror. Sam and the deputies examine the new crime scene. Sam tells them to get the doc, and Joe asks if they should leave her out for the 12 Days of Christmas, and Chris vomits. Odd comedy, but it kind of works, I guess.
Read the room, dude.
Yeah. Back at the station, Sam tells Marla to call the asshole from the FBI, but it turns out that asshole is already at Marla's desk. They introduce themselves, and we get a weird line from Agent Manners. After Sam asks if he's FBI, Manners replies, "Sure, why not?" So what are we supposed to take from that?
So they clearly indicate moving forward that they're not part of the FBI.
No.
Right? They work with some corporation. They never really get into it.
Stone does, for sure.
Yeah, they never really get into it, right? But at the beginning, when Sam asks Marla to get the FBI on the line, they get Manners. Who did she call?
This is a very good question. I don't have an answer to it, but it's a very good question.
Yeah.
Turns out that Old Man Harper's death was done in a similar fashion to a perp they're following. Manners tells Sam to take him and Stone to the Metzner place, and if everything adds up the way he thinks it might, then they will have a full task force there by midnight.
A full task force from the FBI you don't work for?
I guess. But then we cut to Paul running down the road, checking over his shoulder for the snowman, which makes me ask the question, who told the police about the murders?
Marla.
Because if he hasn't even made it home yet, he's still running in terror from Jack. He's not telling the police anything.
The police were at the house, so they didn't. Maybe they radioed it in to Marla? I don't know. You're asking too many questions, man. You're asking too many questions.
Stone studies the water trail in the Metzner house, and his readings show that it's part of a creature that can alter its molecular structure. It melted, came through the doggy door, and refroze inside. Doc and Sam examine Jake's corpse. Doc states that there's no sign of twisting or anything that would help the axe handle down Jake's throat. It was just forced down with immense power. They also note that Jake had the key to the back door in his pocket, adding to the mystery of how this thing got inside. They hide this from Manners. The agent then instructs Sam to call for a town lockdown. The townsfolk are rounded up and take refuge in the church, which is supposed to be close to the entire town's population, and there's maybe 30 people there.
That's the town's population.
All right. They keep making references to problems with the heating system, but Father Brana just goes into the basement and turns on the furnace, and everything's fine.
The problem of we didn't turn it on earlier.
Yeah. Multiple problems. Sam tells the town they're under a 24-hour curfew and says that they're welcome to stay at the church, but I'm pretty sure it's actually the lodge they're in, which doesn't really make sense. He also tells them they're under a 24-hour curfew, but he's not going to arrest anybody if he sees them walking down the road. So, all right. A commotion outside interrupts Sam's speech. It's Paul knocking the heads off of the snowmen for the upcoming competition. He's raving like a madman, and Manners knocks him out, then insults Sam's ability to control his town. But I'm pretty sure Paul is having a realistic reaction to having seen a murderous snowman.
Yes.
Still hasn't told anybody about it, though.
No.
He also says that Paul could be a detriment to his operation, then threatens to replace Sam and tells the rest of the town to go darn a quilt.
Yeah, not much manners there, man.
Yeah, bad manners. Bad. Sam tells Joe to take Paul to the jail and let him cool down, and tells Chris to head over to Paul's place to try and find out what might have set him off. Of course, Chris encounters Jack on his way. The snowman is blocking the road, complete with stop sign in hand. Chris removes a shovel from his trunk, but the snowman has now vanished. He refreezes in the deputy's car and runs the man over. This snowman, just take a... We have to say, he looks like your classic snowman, right?
Yeah.
Coal eyes, mouth, scarf on, carrot nose. Guess how much that snowman cost? It's a 7-foot rubber snowman.
$40.
50,000.
How?
It cost as much as one of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suits.
How?
I don't know. It's just shitty rubber costume. Back at the church, Sam questions his son about his wife's whereabouts. Ryan says that she went back to the house to get more blankets. And I do have to ask you, Sandro, Ryan is sitting with a few other kids, and they're all just playing with snowballs inside. What's up with that? How does that even work? How does that not melt? Where is the snow coming from, even?
It's Snowminton. There's lots of snow everywhere.
Yeah. Sam sends Joe to check on his wife. At the Tyler house, Anne has grabbed the blankets, but water is pouring out from under the sink. It's revealed to only be a burst pipe, which is not a bad fake out. It worked for me in the movie anyway. And Joe arrives for a comedic sliding around in a puddle scene before somehow fixing the pipes, which he doesn't really do anything other than twists a pipe.
Oh, I thought he just turned the water off.
I thought he just I thought it was just like a joint that he twisted and that was it.
Oh, let's turn the water off so at least it's not leaking until you can get this fixed.
Yeah, and he tells her she should fix the pipes. And Anne just says they ought to fix Joe.
For helping you.
What a dick move.
Like, he shows up there, turns the water off, and she's like, yeah, you need help.
Yeah, right. Sam and Manners are at the station going over a map of the roadblocks they put in place. But who's enforcing the roadblocks?
The task force that's going to be there by midnight.
And if Manners knows what Jack really is, why would he assume that roadblocks are going to do anything?
It's a movie script.
Great scene where Joe walks Anne to the car, ranting about what can be done to fix the kitchen, and she just slams the door closed, and he just stops talking immediately, walking around the back of the car and opening the driver's door, and immediately picks up the conversation where he left off.
Yeah, he's
pretty funny.
He's a chatty guy.
Jill and Tommy break into Sam's house to fuck around.
Why?
I don't know. Why would you break into the sheriff's house?
Where does Tommy live?
I don't know where Paul's house is.
I get you can't go to your house because your parents are there, sort of. But, like, Tommy doesn't live anywhere?
Yeah.
And I mean, Tommy's Paul's son, right?
Yes.
And that's what they play up? Well,
yeah.
Paul's clearly never home. He's constantly out there hawking product and delivering salt.
Yeah, gotta drop off those salt pellets.
Instead, let's break into the ever-so-convenient sheriff's house.
There is a funny scene, though, of them inside the house trying to quickly undress, but it takes forever because of the amount of layers of winter clothing they're wearing.
Yeah, that was all right, I guess.
It gets old pretty quick, but it was a really funny nod anyway. Jill stops him and says that if Tommy wants her, he needs to build a roaring fire and get a bottle of wine. What if they didn't have any wine at the house?
What if they didn't have a fireplace?
It's a good question. Jill goes upstairs to dry her hair. Tommy finds a bottle of wine, but after tasting it, decides that it needs ice? The fuck, kid? Why would you do that? Anyway, he opens the freezer, which is completely crammed with frost. Now, I thought that this could have been Jack in the freezer, because we do see up front a carrot is there.
I thought it was supposed to be.
But it's not. Which means that this family of 3 can't put a fucking thing in their freezer because they're not looking after it.
That seems about right. I really thought it was supposed to be Jack. So
yeah, me too. And even like him taking the ice pick to it and then dropping it in the wine, and it really focuses on the wine as the ice hits it. And like, that's got to be Jack, right?
I thought so.
Yeah, but a snowball hits the kitchen window, spooking Tommy, who arms himself with the ice pick again. Checks the door and is punched in the face by a very fake snowman hand, so Jack is actually outside.
$50,000 snowman hand.
Tommy tries to get in some offense, I should say, not offense. Repeatedly stabbing Jack, but it's no use. Jack shoots massive icicles from his hand that impale the Davro boy, killing him. Jill's still upstairs drying her hair and notices the bathtub is full of water. She thanks Tommy for readying a bath, disrobes, and climbs in, even though she just dried her hair.
Yep.
We see a trail of water leading up to the tub, letting us know that Jill is bathing in melted Jack. That's a weird line. The temperature drops.
It gets weirder.
A carrot floats to the top of the water, and Jack freezes around the girl, repeatedly slamming her into the wall, killing her. So this scene, it's very problematic.
So is Jack raping her?
That is what is implied, but that was not the intent when it was filmed. It was only after editing, where one of the editors talks to Cooney and is like, you know what this looks like, right?
Well, the carrot pops up in between where her legs are in the water.
That was a reshoot. They
Fair.
added that in.
I'm just looking at the movie we got, man.
Oh, I know. They ended up filming a few more shots to imply that's what happened, even though that wasn't the original intent. Also, do you notice that when he freezes around her, they rise vertically out of the tub, which is physically impossible?
Not when you have a super-powered snowman.
But they're standing up and just raise up. I found out one useful bit of information from the commentary is that was a raised set, and they were on a sky lift. So it was like 12 feet above the ground, so they could just raise them into that shot.
That's somewhat ingenious, I guess, if that's what you're going for. I mean...
Yeah. And there's that weird dude outside who sees Jill's flailing arm in the window, and he just waves back at her.
Like as if it's someone just waving.
Yeah. And then Jack puts the carrot back on his face, implies the rape. Super, super dark for this movie. And apparently the reason why the nose came off in the first place is because it was originally on the snowman costume, but in the struggle, it poked Shannon Elizabeth in the eye and almost like poked it out. So they had like medics on set taking care of everything. So they just decided to remove it just as a safety measure.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, cut to the station. Back to the movie. Sam and Manners are still going over the tiny road map. Marla brings over a fresh pot of coffee and tops up Sam's mug. Manners holds out his own mug, and Marla just cheers it, clinking the pot against it, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. We then get info about how the town is in a valley, and the amount of snow they're expecting will shut off any attempt by Manners' men to enter it.
So more than we got yesterday, apparently.
Yeah. Stone freaks out, saying they can't allow Jack to escape. And I'm still curious as to why they think a murderous snowman's going to stick to the roads. Manners questions the state of the town's armory, which Sam lets us know is non-existent, just his revolver. Stone says that conventional weapons won't work against Jack, and now Sam is very confused. Because at this point, I don't think, Sam doesn't even know what they're fighting.
Why would Agent Manners ask about an armory when he's with Stone and should know that conventional weapons don't work?
Good question, too. You're full of them today. There are a lot of plot holes in this movie. Doesn't make it any less enjoyable, though, I will say that.
Yeah, sure.
Chris's squad car pulls up, and everyone leaves the station to meet him. Only there's no Chris, just the car with a soaked interior. Manners arms himself with guns from his trunk. Jack makes himself known, and the four retreat into the station. Somehow the snowman has taken out the phone lines. They don't really explain that. Sam demands to know what the thing is, and is finally told that Jack Frost has returned. Snowman melts and starts spraying in under the door. Manners decides the best course of action is shooting the puddle, and is angry when that has no effect.
Really? You're surprised that shooting water wasn't sufficient? How did you get your position?
Pretty weak bullets or something, because it doesn't even mark the floor.
No.
Stone states that he can only be injured when he's in his frozen form. Why?
And not even by bullets.
No. Jack reforms, and Sam turns a hairdryer on him, which somehow hurts the snowman. But if part of his gimmick is that he can melt and refreeze or reform, why does making him melt hurt him? Anything?
Didn't even think about that. Oh, that's hilarious.
Because it happens repeatedly.
Yeah.
Sam joins the others in the jail at the back of the station, and they rig up aerosol cans to empty out into the air, the plan being to blow up the snowman. Again, wouldn't he just reform? They plan to escape through the back window, but it's locked, and Sam has to return to the jail entrance to retrieve the keys. Only Jack is starting to melt under that door. It's a decently tense scene, but a predictable one. Because he gets the keys, and we're reminded that Paul is still in the holding cell. He's released, and the five narrowly escape. Manners drops a weird line of, "Somebody remember to put the cat out." Or put out the cat. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
And then shoots the window, causing the building to explode.
It's pretty stupid.
Yeah. Kind of like previous shots of the police station had me believing that the building was at the edge of town, but when they escape through that window, it puts them immediately in front of the church in the center of town.
But yeah, I said the sheriff's office and the display are the only things in town.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking. The townsfolk exit the church investigating the explosion, and Jack refreezes in an odd shape, revealing himself to the entire town with a line of, "Look ma, I'm a Picasso." Stupid.
Did any of his lines land with you?
Not a single one. Actually, wait, yes. No, one did. In the furnace room with Stone.
Okay.
Everyone retreats inside the church except for one guy in the orange hat again. Did you catch him this time?
No.
He wanders out. Everybody's run inside except for Marla and Joe. And the orange hat guy just wanders out of the church and off screen, but he's holding a stick with 2 marshmallows on it. Everybody's panicking, fleeing, bursting their way into the church, and he just wanders by. Not a care in the world.
Makes sense.
Sam tries to get everyone to work together and gets Stone to explain what exactly is going on. Jack was an accident. The acid was designed to bond human genetics to inert material in case of a global holocaust, ensuring the survival of the human race. Somehow. In Jack's situation, the snow didn't just store Jack's DNA, it took on his personality. And somehow this proves that the soul exists and is actually a chemical?
So, what proof does he actually have that Snow took on his personality rather than he just became Snow? Because
I
to
have
me,
no idea.
That seems like two very similar things, but different at the same time.
It's very problematic, but you have to keep in mind we're watching a movie about a killer snowman.
Okay. I guess my expectations are too high.
Hey, I fell victim to that repeatedly. You've had to bring me down to reality. It's weird, man, how caught up we get in certain things here. Stone says there's no way to kill Jack. They can only contain him. All right. Sam suggests furnace of the church, and Stone admits that the sustained heat could alter him genetically. Can it? I don't know. It doesn't sound right, but all right. But how will they get him down there? How do they get him down there, Sandro?
A militia of hairdryers?
Yep. They force him down in the furnace room, inside the furnace with hairdryers. And of course it doesn't work.
No, because what happens to snow and water when it burns? It turns into steam.
It evaporates.
Just into another form that he can get back together.
Yep. Evaporated Jack takes water form, enters the furnace room, and refreezes, biting off Manner's face and attacking Stone. I don't have the line down as my memorable line, but it was a good one where Stone starts questioning him, like, what's it feel like to be immortal? Like, you never die, and blah, blah, blah. And Jack just says, it feels cold, and then attacks him.
I can tell you why you don't have it written down as your favorite line.
Because it's not.
Because it's terrible.
Yeah. Sam puts Ryan in his car and returns to the church entrance just as Stone exits, only something about the geneticist is off.
When did he gain this ability?
I don't know. And what's the point of it? Because he's walking in jerky, rigid motions. It's obvious what's going on. Jack melted and went inside Stone's body. But it doesn't tell us why, or what the plan was, or why he hasn't done it before. Is it useful? I don't know. It doesn't look like it because he fails. Like, he makes it to the main level of the church.
At what point?
Down one step and then just gives up.
At what point did Jack in any way try to exercise subtlety in this movie? When did he get the ability to wear people like a marionette in his water form? Like, why does this even happen?
I don't know. It makes no sense. It is, and I can't believe I'm going to, like, pick the movie apart to this point, but it's not in his character whatsoever.
No! The last scene we saw him do was just biting a guy's face off with no subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah. Sam jumps in the car and locks the door, but the snowman melts and enters the car through the air vents. He kicks out a window and escapes with his son, but during the escape, he mashes the bag of Ryan's special oatmeal concoction in Jack's face. The snowman screams in agony, and Ryan reveals that he put antifreeze in the food so his father wouldn't get cold. Jesus Christ, kid. Jack emerges from the car a bloody mess somehow and is hit by Paul's speeding truck. I'm not sure why he went flying through the air. You think if a speeding truck hit a snowman, it would just break apart? Sam tells Paul to go back to his store and fill the bed of the truck with antifreeze, returning in 5 minutes. He then tells Jack the snowman joke from the beginning of the movie, and this is where I said, does he flub the line and just say no balls?
That's what I heard. No balls.
Yeah. Is that a choice?
I don't know, but it must have worked because it really incites Jack. He does not like it, and he is angry now.
Oh my God. He runs inside the lodge with Jack in pursuit, heads upstairs and knocks on every door. Did you catch what people were saying when he knocked on the doors?
No, no, I didn't.
From one room, a voice yells out, "Go away." And then at the end of the hall, at another door, we hear a woman gasp and say, "It's your husband." So, what's going on in that room? At the store, Paul lines the bed of his truck with a tarp and fills it with antifreeze. Sam checks his watch, only a couple more minutes to go. Jack reappears, and the two struggle. Sam takes a massive icicle to the shoulder, but grabs Jack and rushes him through a window, the two falling into the bed of Paul's truck, which just arrived. And that could have gone horribly wrong.
How did he even know that the truck was going to stop there?
I don't know. But, I mean, he was going to die if he didn't do something. But can you imagine that, like, they jump too soon, hit the ground,
and then the truck runs over them?
Yeah.
or they land?
Just miss completely.
It's like a Looney Tunes cartoon. They land right next to the truck.
Yeah.
It's already parked. It got there, but it went under a different window.
Partially submerged in antifreeze, the two wrestle before the snowman completely dissolves.
What two? Sam and the cutout piece of styrofoam?
Oh, it was so good. It's like Bela Lugosi in that Ed Wood movie where he's fighting the octopus and he's just grabbing onto it, flailing it around, making it look like they're fighting.
But this isn't even the $50,000 suit of a snowman. Like, this is literally
foam.
Is foam cut out in roughly a humanoid shape. Yeah. This is much worse than the ornament scene.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty good, though.
Sam is literally just hugging a cutout piece of foam.
and rolling around.
You don't have the acting chops to make it look like this thing is sentient at all.
No.
And whoever did the art or props for this movie didn't even attempt to make this look like it should. Like, the whole time, Jack is the shape of a snowman, and now he's wrestling this thing that's roughly humanoid, because it has, like, arms and legs in the foam cutout. Why?
I don't know. I don't have your answers, man. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that was the worst.
I said that the antifreeze completely dissolves the snowman. That is all the snowman that landed in the truck. Because Ryan picks up Jack's arm, which came off in the fall, and it wraps around the boy's face, trying to smother him. Sam and Ann dunk him in the antifreeze, and crisis averted. But I do find it odd that the arm screams when this happens.
Well, it's every individual molecule is its own living thing, you see. It's
Of course. Yeah. And I do get that. I just found it hilarious. The town band together to pour the antifreeze back into jugs and bury them underground just as the FBI arrive. Unbeknownst to... Yeah, it was the FBI, too, that showed up. The cavalry. Unbeknownst to them, after the jugs are buried, the contents begin to boil, letting us know that Jack is not dead, only contained. For now.
I mean, you spoiled it earlier when you said that the same director did the sequel, so...
Yeah.
Clearly. Thank God that is over. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the numbers, Ben. Done with this movie.
All right,
I can't even imagine you were able to find budget numbers for this shit.
No, I really couldn't. It's uncertain. Even Cooney doesn't know. He said it was roughly the size of the catering budget for Identity, the other movie he did. Originally, the movie had a $30 million budget and was going to be directed by Rennie Harlan. But his girlfriend at the time, Gina Davis, said the script was one of the worst things she ever read and made him do Cutthroat Island instead because she wanted to make a pirate movie.
Oh, I mean, that's a better movie, but that's not.
No. That
bar ain't very high.
Yeah, the budget we know is cut to somewhere under 500,000. Like I said, Cooney still doesn't know what the actual budget was, and then probably couldn't have been that much considering they only had 17 days to film.
500,000 and they use 50K on that garbage snowman.
Under. He's not sure. He just knows for a fact it was under $500,000, and that they did spend the majority of the budget on SAG actors. They wanted to have like legit actors in the movie. I think Chris Allport was great.
Hey, man, we got a different section for that. Come on.
Yeah. How much did the movie make? I have no idea. No idea at all. Nobody has any report of this anywhere.
I think the movie made an amount of the Bazooka Joe comics they had to offer the director for the sequel.
Well, look at it this way. The company that distributed the movie, A-Pix Entertainment, bought the movie for like $45,000.
They bought the movie for almost the cost of one of the snowmen?
For distribution, yeah. Yeah.
You see the problem here, right?
Oh, there's many problems.
1, they shouldn't have paid that much. 2, the snowman shouldn't have cost that much.
Although they did an amazing job at marketing it in video stores with the lenticular cover. Absolutely amazing. One of my favorite VHS boxes ever.
I can't say I've had the pleasure.
Do you want to take a guess at what the rating is on IMDb?
This is either going to be a movie that's rated really high because people just love how awful it is, or it's going to be absolutely terrible because people are going to rate it for what it actually is. So I'm just going to go straight down the middle and say 5 out of 10, that they'll balance each other out.
4.7.
Dear God. What's wrong with you people?
Moving over to Rotten Tomatoes, though, what do you think the critics gave it for the tomato meter?
Oh, God, this has got to be low. 17%.
7.
Oh!
Audience score?
Audience is going to disappoint me. It's going to be like 71 or something.
30.
Oh, thank you, audience, for not being completely stupid.
They everything about this movie went poorly, man. Like, they were filming it in Big Bear in California, where there is actually snow that time of year, but they had a mini heat wave. So there was no snow anywhere. Then they would have flash floods. And since it was like the heat wave had it sitting at like, I think 26 degrees Celsius in the winter, that's why there's no breath in the movie. You can't see anybody's breath.
Oh, that only works out so perfectly.
Yeah. 8 weeks out from principal photography, the director realized they couldn't do a serious horror film with what they had and had to embrace the absurdity of what they could make with such little funding. So they just went full into it. And I totally respect them for that.
I mean, I'm glad they weren't ignorant to what was going on here.
Yeah. No, they were fully aware. A little too aware at times, too, because there's that scene where Ryan's making the gingerbread men, like the snowman cookies. The snowman he shows his mom is missing its arm, which is the same arm that tries to kill him at the end of the movie. Yeah, like that's a little too deep for foreshadowing.
Yeah, nobody's gonna notice that.
Yeah.
No one who's not crazy enough to watch this 4 times, like you did just recently, would catch that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the awards. I'm done.
Sure.
I'm done.
Sure.
All right. You start with worst performance. Before either of us answer, I gotta ask. We're normally generous about it, but are we including child actors?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
This performance was made special. Zach played Ryan Tyler. Ryan Tyler. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Edgerton?
Yeah, sure.
is awful in every scene he's in. And I wanted to believe that it was just the way the character was written, but I don't think that's the case. I think he's just terrible.
Now, just out of curiosity, if I told you we got to stick to our usual no children award, did you have somebody else picked in mind?
No.
No? Okay. You were going with this one no matter what.
Oh, no, there's no other option for me.
Okay, all right, fair. I picked one of each just in case, because we do sometimes go that route of excluding child actors for being, child actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we're including it, I'm absolutely picking Zach Edgerton as Ryan Tiller. I don't think anybody can watch this movie and say otherwise. If we weren't including child actors, I had Shannon Elizabeth as Jill listed because she was quite terrible as well.
Yeah, she was real bad.
Zach is absolutely number one, but that was just my backup in case we weren't going child actors.
Yeah, I respect you for having that second option.
It's like I said, it's something that we kind of not always lean into, but it comes up, so I just wanted to be prepared.
Mm-hmm. What about best performance?
Best performance, I had to go with Christopher Allport as Sam. Really nobody in this movie had a huge amount to work with, and Sam having to react to some of this stuff, like the threats that he got from Jack. Maybe if the movie was done in a way that was a little bit more believable, it would have worked, but he actually showed some acting chops here.
Yeah, I also went with Chris Allport. I thought he did a great job. Played it straight, was 100% committed to the role, and it shows. Like, his commitment definitely shows. I thought he did a great job.
All right, so you would go with favorite or most memorable line?
I thought it was scene. Okay, I can do line.
No, moment and scene is the last award, and I start that.
I have Doc
Jeez,
Peters.
it's only been 2 weeks, man. Come on.
I'm sick, damn it. Let me be.
All right.
Doc Peters saying, do you think he'll strike again, Sam? And Sam responds, I don't know, Doc, but I'll be bolting my door tonight. And Peters just goes, I'll be dragging my dresser in front of mine, Sam. It's a perfect line for a horror film. Unfortunately, it's in Jack Frost. But I love it. Okay.
I remember that line. I don't think it would have made either of my favorite or most memorable.
I would say it's the best writing in the movie in like short sentences between two characters. I thought it was great.
Well, if that's what you're going
I
for,
totally
then,
see
yeah,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Did you notice the abundance of lines that get delivered in the background in this movie?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it happens a lot, like you were saying in the hotel, right? There's a lot of lines delivered by somebody off camera that we don't know, don't see, don't get any explanation to. But my line comes from one of them, actually. So after the fight that, Ryan kills Billy in, Sam says to what's his name? Jack, is it? Jake? Mm-hmm. The dad? I don't know. His name.
The angry dad?
Yeah, the angry dad. Who cares?
Murder dad?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
All right.
Sam says to him, it couldn't have been a fight. Billy is 2 feet taller than Ryan. And then someone in the background snickers, not anymore, he ain't.
I missed that one. That's
good.
My!
I had to rewind it to actually, I had to double take it. Did I actually hear that? And yes, in a crime scene where some kid was decapitated, someone off camera just shouts, "Not anymore, he ain't."
Good. That's a great line. I feel bad I missed it.
Might have been the only time I actually laughed watching this movie. It's bad. All right. Okay. Most memorable or favorite scene or moment?
Jack's attack on Sally.
Really?
It always stands out in my mind from the first time I saw it in '97 until now because it's so ridiculously fake. It's like rubbing a puppet's face in a box. That's all that was. A giant foam hand rubbing a yarn-haired Muppet's face in a box. And it's supposed to be a murder. It's hilariously terrible.
It's not the only one, unfortunately.
Yeah, what were you picking?
Probably not what you're going to assume, because I'm going to guess you're thinking that I'm going to pick the antifreeze fight.
I did think that, yeah.
But no, I have to go with the Shannon Elizabeth bathtub murder / sexual assault.
Yeah, that definitely stands out.
Not by no means isn't my favorite. It is absolutely terrible in every possible way, but that's part of what makes it so memorable. And I mean, it's even like capped off with like the exclamation point where Jack says something like, "Looks like Christmas isn't the only thing that came early." And it's just like, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
And it's not in any way helped out by the fact that Shannon Elizabeth is doing an absolutely terrible job struggling against this apparently $50,000 snowman, screaming, and then her death, she gets dropped on the ground and just turns her head towards the camera a little with blood coming out of her mouth. It's just it
doesn't need to be. It just doesn't.
Sorry, my brain needed a minute to catch up with my disappointment.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not even going to call it recommendation anymore because it never really is. Let's just go to your closing thoughts on this movie.
I like this movie. I like
How?
this movie a lot. It's just so ridiculous, man. I thought this movie was hilarious from the first time I saw it. Problematic, no doubt. But I think this movie's hilarious. I really don't mind watching it time and time again. I love showing it to other people because it's so absolutely ridiculous, but I don't mind watching it by myself either. It's I would definitely recommend people check it out. I don't think anybody would really ever want to see it more than once, but it's one of those things you have to watch just to say that you saw it, because it makes no sense. It's so ridiculous, so over the top, but I think it's a lot of fun for the most part.
This is a terrible movie. This is absolutely, objectively, in every way, a terrible movie. And you know what? There's no denying that there is absolutely an audience for this.
Uh-huh.
I know we say it all the time. There's absolutely no way you should ever watch this by yourself.
Oh, disagree.
No, dude. I mean, there is an audience for this. Watching it with you the first time I saw it, not knowing what was coming up, and being able to rip into it was at least an enjoyable experience. There is, especially for the first viewing, absolutely no reason to ever watch it by yourself or a second time.
So what you're telling me is that we're not covering Jack Frost 2 Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman from 2000 next time?
No, actually, next time we're covering a movie that I picked because you didn't have one ready for some reason.
That's not true. I did. I just felt like we've been overdoing it with werewolf movies, so I'm going to put it on the back burner.
All right, well, you put me on the spot. Before we get to that, though, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. You can catch us on social media. We are on Twitter at BS Bargain Bin. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/BS Bargain Bin. If you are listening to this as it goes live, you still have a day and a half to put in your submission for the first fan pick of 2022, our January fan pick. The posts are up right now on both of those social media channels to enter your submissions. We just ask that please you keep it to 90 minutes like usual. Ben.
Yo.
Next week, we are watching a movie that I picked at random because you didn't want to go with your selection. That just happened to be on a list of links that I had in front of me on IMDb when I had the cast list up for this movie.
Oh, God.
I don't see any crossover between the casts, so I think it was just a general advertisement or maybe my search history in the past. And we are going to be watching the 2022 Joe Manganiello movie, Arch Enemy.
I used to sit on top of the highest buildings in Chromium. down like a god.
You still got them superpowers? The power to drink a fifth of whiskey and not pay for it.
Dad was a storyteller.
See? It's in our blood.
I used to punch holes through space-time.
Hey! Oh, you're the dude who says he's from another planet. You got superpowers, right? Come on, I just want to hear your story.
My city was named Chromium.
So that's where you're from?
They had to invent things to hurt me. Intelligent asteroids, killer robots.
Super villains?
Say super one more time.
Oh, okay.
Even the whiskey's weaker here.
Space whiskey. All right, look, do you have any superpowers at all? Or...
The source of my power doesn't exist here.
Why you gotta fill the kid's head with bullshit?
I've always been good to you, right? To you and your family.
You're risking our lives to hang out with some homeless man?
Max didn't have to do any of this to help us.
They will find you, and they will kill you.
So what are we supposed to do?
You fight the war.
Fuck. Get Max Fist.
We're gonna play a game!
Where's my brother?
You look insane.
Oh, okay. I'm down. Let's do that.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're down. We're going to do that. So until next week, when we do that and have our first episode of 2022, all the best, guys.
All the best, guys.
I stole your line.